In the mid-1980s, the world of supercars looked very different. Ferrari had the F40, Lamborghini had the Countach, and high performance still meant something very simple: big engines, rear-wheel drive, and raw speed. But in 1986, Porsche introduced something completely different, a car that looked like it had arrived from the future, the Porsche 959. It wasn't just fast, it was packed with technology that most cars wouldn't use for another 20 years. Advanced all-wheel drive, computer-controlled suspension, twin turbochargers, and performance that pushed the limits of what a road car could do at the time. But creating such an advanced machine came with a price. Because despite being one of the most sophisticated cars of its era, the Porsche 959 would become one of the most expensive projects Porsche had ever built. In fact, many reports suggest the company actually lost money on every single car they sold. And that is exactly what makes the story of the Porsche 959 so fascinating. To understand the Porsche 959, you have to go back to one of the most extreme eras in motorsport history: Group B rally racing. During the early 1980s, Group B became famous for producing some of the most powerful and dangerous rally cars ever created. Manufacturers were allowed to experiment with radical technology and extreme performance. For companies like Porsche, it was the perfect opportunity to push engineering boundaries. The plan was simple. Porsche wanted to build a new rally car capable of dominating Group B competition. But in order to compete, the company needed to produce a road-legal version of the car. That road car would eventually become the Porsche 959. From the beginning, the project focused on something Porsche believed would define the future of performance cars: all-wheel drive. At the time, most high-performance sports cars still sent power only to the rear wheels, but Porsche engineers believed that distributing power to all four wheels would dramatically improve traction and stability. This new system would later become known as PSK, Porsche Steuerkupplung, a computer-controlled all-wheel drive system that could actively distribute power between the front and rear axles. In the early 1980s, this kind of technology was almost unheard of in a road car. But Porsche wasn't building an ordinary sports car. They were building something far more ambitious: a technological showcase for the future of performance. By the time the Porsche 959 finally entered production, it had become one of the most advanced cars the world had ever seen. At the heart of the car was a highly sophisticated flat-six engine. Instead of using a traditional large displacement engine like many other supercars of the time, Porsche used a smaller 2.85-liter twin turbocharged engine derived from the racing program of the Porsche 956. Despite its relatively small size, the engine produced around 450 horsepower. That power was sent through a 6-speed manual gearbox and the advanced PSK all-wheel drive system. But the innovation didn't stop there. The Porsche 959 also featured adjustable ride height and electronically controlled suspension. Drivers could change the ride height depending on driving conditions, something that was almost unheard of in production cars during the 1980s. The body itself was also extremely advanced. Instead of traditional steel construction, Porsche used a combination of aluminum, Kevlar, and other lightweight materials. The result was a car that was both incredibly strong and relatively light. All of this technology served one purpose: to create a machine that could deliver incredible performance while maintaining stability at extremely high speeds. And the results were astonishing. When the Porsche 959 was introduced, it became the fastest production car in the world, capable of reaching speeds of around 317 kilometers per hour. But the technology that made the 959 so revolutionary would also make it incredibly expensive to produce, and that would eventually create a serious problem for Porsche. When the Porsche 959 finally reached the road in the mid-1980s, the performance numbers sounded almost unreal. Remember, this was a time when many supercars still relied on big engines and simple mechanical layouts. But the 959 approached speed in a completely different way. Instead of brute force, Porsche used technology. The twin-turbocharged flat-six engine produced around 450 horsepower. Today, that number might not sound extraordinary, but in the 1980s, it was enough to make the 9591 one of the fastest cars on the planet. Acceleration from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour took roughly 3.6 seconds, and the top speed reached around 317 kilometers per hour. That made the 959 the fastest production car in the world at the time. And it didn't just achieve that speed on paper. The car was incredibly stable at high velocity thanks to its advanced aerodynamics and all-wheel drive system. Naturally, comparisons began immediately. Its biggest rival quickly became the legendary Ferrari F40, but the two cars represented completely different philosophies. The Ferrari was raw, lightweight, and brutally simple. Rear-wheel drive, minimal electronics, maximum drama. The Porsche took the opposite approach. It was packed with computers, sensors, and advanced engineering. Where the Ferrari relied on driver skill and courage, the Porsche relied on technology and precision. And that difference created one of the most famous supercar rivalries of the 1980s. Two completely different ideas of what the ultimate performance car should be. But regardless of which philosophy people preferred, one thing was clear. The Porsche 959 had pushed automotive technology into the future. The real story of the Porsche 959 is not just about speed, it's about how far ahead of its time the car truly was. Many of the technologies introduced in the 959 eventually became standard in modern performance cars. All-wheel drive, electronic suspension systems, advanced traction management. Today, these systems are common in high-performance vehicles. But in the 1980s, they were revolutionary. The 959 was essentially a rolling laboratory for Porsche engineers, a platform where the company could test ideas that would later influence future models. And in many ways, that is exactly what happened. The lessons learned from the 959 helped shape the development of future Porsche sports cars, including later generations of the Porsche 911. But all of this advanced technology came with a serious drawback: complexity. The Porsche 959 was incredibly expensive to develop and even more expensive to build. Every car required advanced materials, specialized engineering, and enormous production costs. So while the car became a technological masterpiece, it also became something else, a financial problem. Because by the time Porsche finished building the 959, the company had invested so much into the project that selling the cars would not fully recover the development costs. In other words, the 959 may have been a triumph of engineering, but it was not necessarily a triumph of business, and that would become one of the most interesting parts of its story. For Porsche, the 959 was never just another sports car. It was a technological experiment, a machine designed to prove what the company's engineers were capable of. But experiments like that are rarely cheap. By the time production of the Porsche 959 began in the late 1980s, the car had become one of the most complex vehicles Porsche had ever built. Exotic materials, advanced electronics, and a level of engineering that was far beyond most production cars of the era. All of that innovation came at a cost. The official price of the Porsche 959 when it was introduced was roughly 420,000 German marks. That already made it one of the most expensive production cars in the world. But according to many reports from the time, Porsche had spent so much money developing the car that the company actually lost money on every single unit sold. Despite the high price, the 959 was simply too advanced and too expensive to produce profitably. In total, Porsche built fewer than 300 cars, including prototypes and development vehicles. And while the project may not have been a financial success, it accomplished something much more important. It showed the world what Porsche engineering was capable of. The 959 was no longer just a car. It had become a symbol of technological ambition. Today, the Porsche 959 is widely considered one of the most important supercars ever built, not just because of its performance, but because of its influence. Many of the technologies that appeared in the 959 eventually became standard in modern performance cars. All-wheel drive systems, advanced traction management, electronically controlled suspension. These ideas were once considered futuristic. Today, they are common, and in many ways, the Porsche 959 helped make that possible. Over time, the car also became incredibly valuable. What was once an extremely expensive experiment eventually turned into a highly sought-after collector's car. Today, well-preserved Porsche 959 models often sell for several million dollars. Some examples have reached prices above $2 million at auctions. That makes the 959 not just historically important, but also one of the most desirable classic supercars in the world. Years later, Porsche would once again build a hypercar designed to showcase its latest technology, the Porsche 918 Spider. Just like the 959 decades earlier, the 918 Spider represented the future of performance. But even with all of its modern hybrid technology, many enthusiasts still look back at the 959 as the moment when Porsche first proved how far a road car could go. More than 3 decades after its debut, the Porsche 959 still feels extraordinary. Not because it was simply fast, but because it represented a bold idea. The idea that a road car could be a technological showcase. A machine designed not just to compete with other supercars, but to redefine what a performance car could be. And in many ways, the Porsche 959 did exactly that. If you enjoy exploring legendary cars and the stories behind them, make sure to subscribe to the channel. There are many more incredible machines still waiting to be discovered, and the next story might be even more fascinating.